In this lesson, we're going to look at loops, and in particular the for loops. That's F-O-R, so the for loop. Before I do that, I'm in Visual Studio Code. I've got some files on the left-hand side, and I'm just going to do a little bit of a tidy up here. So I'm going to create a new folder. I'll call this calculator. And inside that folder, I'm just going to click and drag these three files, these calculator files, into that calculator folder. And I'll just close that. So I'm in my girls can code folder. I've clicked on that, and I'm going to click on to create a new folder. I'll call this one loops. And then inside this folder, I'm going to create a new file. Let's call it for loop.php, and then press enter. So I've created a new file, for loop. I'm going to close that sidebar by pressing Command B. I'm just going to increase the screen size a little bit so we can see what I'm doing. And we'll start with a PHP code block. Okay, so we'll start with a for loop. So the for loop is a little bit like the if loop that you learned last week. And it goes something like this. It's the word for, then we have round brackets, and then we have curly braces. I'm going to split open those braces. And I'm going to go inside the round brackets. Now inside the round brackets, there are three things I need to put. So what I'm going to do for this for loop is I want to list the numbers 1 to 10. So we have a counter, and we store that counter number in a variable, and we'll use the letter I. And it is common practice to use I as the counter. Now that counter is going to start at 1 because we're going for the numbers 1 to 10. So that's my first part of my for loop. The second is, well, what's the upper limit? And the upper limit is 10. Now we're not going to say I equals 10 because that won't actually work when we come to do the loop. We must say I is less than or equal to 10. So that means if it's 2, this condition will still work because I is less than 10. If it's 3, etc. So that's the second part of the loop. And the third part is to increase the counter by 1. Now there's different ways we can do that, but the quickest way is just to put plus plus. That literally means add 1 to the value of I. So there's the three little parts of that for loop. And inside the curly braces, this is where we're going to echo out the numbers. And it's quite simple. It's just echo I. I'm going to put in a break as well, so I'm going to echo out a little break. There's my line break. And if I just save that, I'll go across to my browser. And there I've got my loops directory. Go into the loops directory. There's the for loop. Click on that, and there I have the numbers 1 to 10. So fairly straightforward. Let's go back to the code. Now I'm going to copy this, and I'm just going to paste it down here. Now I'm going to comment out this. So, and by comment out, we just insert a little comment, and we use forward slashes. So 2 forward slashes, and I'll just say this lists the numbers 1 to 10. It's just so if you come back to the code in a few weeks' time, you know exactly what it's actually doing. Down here, what I'm going to do this time is this lists the numbers 10 to 1. So before I do it, can you look at that code and think, well, what do I need to change to list the numbers 10 to 1? So you can pause the video if you want, have a look at it, see if you can do it, and then come back. Okay, so how did you get on? Well, we want the number to start at 10. We then want to test if it is greater or equal to 1. So if it was 3, that would be greater or equal to 1. If it was 5, etc. And instead of increasing the value of I, we want to decrease it. And hopefully you realize that would be 2 minus signs. So let me save that, go back and refresh. And there we have the numbers 1 to 10, and then the numbers 10 to 1. So those 2 for loops working one after the other. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to comment out this whole thing, so both of these. And the way we do that is we put in a forward slash and a star. Now as soon as I put, the asterisk. As soon as I put the asterisk in, watch what happens to the colors. it all turns green, so I know the whole thing is commented and therefore it won't work. So if I go down to the bottom, and I'll finish the comment by putting the asterisk and the forward star, the asterisk and the forward slash rather, and I'll refresh, and you can see nothing appears on the screen. That whole code has been commented out. Now I'm going to put in another for loop here. I'll just paste in what I had before. Now this time I want the multiples of 3. So let's think about it. So I want to start with the number 3. So obviously that would be a 3 here. Let's list them all up to 100. And instead of adding 1 to the value, I want to add 3 to the value. Now some of you might think, well, do I put 3 pluses in? Well, no, you don't do that. What you do is you put a plus equals 3. If I wanted to add 5, it would be plus equals 5, etc. Let's go back, refresh, and there I have all the multiples of 3 up to 99. Now, this isn't the official way to do it, but it is a bit of a workaround. It does work, so for the time being, we'll just stick to this. In the next lesson, I'll show you the official way to do it. So let me put a comment in here, which is this lists the multiples of 3. Okay, let's do another one. Now this time I want to produce the times table. So 1 times 1 is 1, 1 times 2 is 2, etc. So let me just write it down here very quickly. So 1 times 1 is 1, 1 multiplied by 2 is 2, 1 multiplied by 3 is 3, etc. Now that's going to go all the way to 12. And then I'd start with the 2. So 2 multiplied by 1 is 2, and then 2 multiplied by 2 is 4, etc. Now let's think about this, because I'd have the number 1 here, and then here, and then here, and that would appear 12 times. And then we've got this second number, 1, 2, and 3, and that would go to 12. So what I've actually got is a loop inside a loop. So let me get rid of this. I will comment out this whole thing here as well. So I'll grab this, just cut it from there, and just paste it in down here. And then I can start my for loop here. So for something to be true, we're going to do something. I'm going to split open those curly braces. And in here, I'm going to put my counter. I is going to start at 1. I is going to be less than or equal to 12. I'll put the I in there. And then we want I plus plus. So there's my first counter. Now within that counter, I want a second counter. So for something to be true, we're going to do something. And this time we use a different letter. We'll use J. So J is going to be equal to 1. J is going to be less than or equal to 12. And we want J plus plus. In other words, we're adding 1. Now in here, I want to echo out the times tables. So let's think about this. I'm going to echo out. All right, so we're going to come to here. We're going to let I be equal to 1. It's then going to come to this loop here, and this loop is going to run 12 times. It's then going to go back to here, increase I by 1, so I now becomes 2. Then it goes to the second loop and repeats it 12 times. And that goes on until I is equal to 12, and it'll run through for the final time. So what do I want to echo? Well, let's think about the format of the times tables. It's 1 times 1. Well, 1 will be my I value. So I'm going to print out I. I'm then going to do something called concatenation. So we use a full stop or a period. I then want to print to the screen the multiplication sign. I'll just use an X. I then want to concatenate on the value of J, and then concatenate on an equal sign, and then concatenate on the actual answer. So to get the answer, it's 1 times 1 is 1, 1 times 2 is 2. So I'm multiplying the I and the J together. So I'm taking the I value, I am multiplying, which is the asterisk, and I'm multiplying that by the J value. So hopefully that makes sense. Just need to echo out a break between them. So let's put that in. Let's save that. Let's go and refresh. And there we have the times tables. So this first number 1 is my I value. The second number, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's the j value. And obviously this answer is I multiplied by j. So hopefully that makes sense. It is a little bit trickier than some of the easier ones, but shouldn't be too difficult for you.